Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy StumpD back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, it's that time of the month again. It's the end of September, and we are doing our SUGO Fest tier list over here on the global side of the game, ranking the legends that are available as of September 2021, and letting you guys know who you guys should be leveling up, what characters you should be looking for, and what is sort of like where your resources should be best spent. So before we do start today's video, obviously as every single tier list, this is just my personal opinion from playing the game for a very long time. Don't take it as the be all or end all, but I have been playing the game for a little while. I have all the legends except for Fire Tank Pirates, but I do have them on Japan, so I do know how good they are. But I would love to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, so don't be afraid to let me know if you disagree with something I say, or let me know if you do agree. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts and opinions are. While you're down there, don't forget to smash that like button if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button too. Before we continue to, obviously, a huge shout out to the OPTC database for the images provided, as well as the tier list maker for the tier list. Now, if you guys want to head over to the tier list maker and create your own tier list, I will leave links in the description below for both of those. The database is great for team building, great for the damage calculator, and great for like finding units that you need, especially if you're a Japan player. Like, it helps out drastically. And if you guys want to make your own tier list, make sure to link it in the comment section. I'd love to see what you guys have to think. But again, before we dive in, there are some things we want to talk about. As you guys see on screen right here, this is the tier list as of last month. So we do have a bunch of tiers. We have God tier. These units here are basically the units you want to focus on. These units are very, very good. Moving forward, they're the characters that you sort of want to look at. S tier captain, all these guys have their own right as S tier captains. We are going to make some changes before we do continue, and we do talk about some of the new legends. There has been a lot of legend releasing this month, so there's a lot to talk about, so I'm very glad that I have saved this particular tier list. We have S tier subs. Mainly these guys are used as substitutes, so like not really captains, but they are very, very good as subs. Your A tier captains, they're sort of like your next line of good units, and they do work fairly nicely. We have A tier subs. These guys are very, very good, but once you sort of get down to these A tier subs, these sort of characters here, once you go past these sort of A tier subs, you kind of want to look at sort of leveling up some other characters. Niche and content requires you basically only level these guys up when the content requires you to. Besides like Jack's a bit of an exception because he's an XP captain. And obviously Buggy you do want to level up. You don't have to super evolve Buggy, but like he's definitely very, very good for duping drops. Needs a 6+ Hadouki. These characters are just sort of outdated and you're never really going to use them. PvP, this is only if we are talking Pirate Rumble. Obviously, Enel's a bit of an exception. He's really good. He's probably like up here in A tier sub, but like he's mainly used in PvP. That's why we have him here. Same argument you could probably make for Rayleigh. The support tier, this particular characters here, you really use them as support. Some of them are quite good, but like there's just better options, and like instead of just slapping them in A tier sub where like they probably deserve to be, or A tier captain, they just really find their way into support. If you like the style of these characters, you can use them if you want to use them down here. Oh, I just realized you actually can't see them. These particular characters here, if I go minus like that for you guys, that's probably going to give you a little bit of a better... Nope, okay, definitely didn't. What if I just quickly slide the... Where is it? If I just slide this up a little bit for you guys. There you guys can see that these characters here are pretty much only good for support. And then this bottom row here, they're pretty much if you like the playstyle. That's sort of where you want to be looking at using them. So if you like the style, it's sort of up to you. Support, obviously just get them to level 5 support, call it a day and move on. PvP, if you like Pirate Rumble, these characters are very, very good. And the rest sort of speaks for itself a little bit there. So if we scroll back to the top here and we get this like that... We are going to make some changes before we continue. There are going to be a few changes from this. Remember, this is last year's last month's tier list. So we do want to change some things. First of all, I want to do this. This Law is still an absolute god tier unit. Yes, I agree. He's probably a bit like mainly used as an S tier sub, but you can easily use him as a captain. He's a 4.5 times captain. Most of the time, you're going to run him on like a ace team, and you're going to run him on like a Luffy Sanji team for a higher multiplier. But look, that just can't discredit what he can do. He's a god tier unit. He finds his way onto teams when he's not even boosted, and for that reason, I want to put him as an A tier sub. The next character thing I want to do is I want to drop Snake Man into an S tier captain. He's not really used that much anymore, mainly because of like Luffy Sanji with the new Luffy that came out, and that's another reason why I do want to drop him to S tier captain. He sort of just really isn't that used. I low-key want to do that. Like, I really low-key want to do that, but driven shooters... Like, as good as they are, it's just because he's driven shooter. Like, that's the big issue I have with Fire Tank Pirates. But they are very, very good. And if you want to make an argument to put them here, honestly, like, I wouldn't really disagree. Most of the time you're using him as a captain, though. You're not really using him elsewhere. You can use him as a sub, but like you do have Bardo Cavendish for that as well. Some other changes that I do want to make is I do want to drop down Cracker. I do think Cracker's still very, very good, but he's nowhere near on Law's capabilities. His chain buff's great, color finish great, but like they're things you look for last. Block wall manipulation's pretty good too. I guess you could argue he's an A tier sub, like up here. But in terms of utilizing Cracker, like I always find there's just like a better option. Another character I want to drop, and it hurts me to do this, is Halloween Shanks. Halloween Shanks needs to drop down to niche when content requires you to use Halloween Shanks. He's not a go-forward for the exact same argument that I just gave for Cracker. Like, you could argue to me that he's an A-tier captain, but I just don't think he's as good as Mihawk. So for that reason, I'm going to drop my boy into niche when content requires. Another character that I want to look at changing is... No, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. As far as I can remember, that's pretty much it. There is something that I want to do as well. So if we come down here to if you like the playstyle, I need to move some characters. Now, as of this month's Kazuna, and as you guys know, the Kazuna's actually going right now. Most of you guys are doing zombie teams when it comes to the super bosses. So, for that reason, we need to move these two bad boys up. We need to move these guys up. These three here, when the content requires, is the perfect place for them. This Kazuna, they've been absolute god mode, and they can do everything these characters can do, but better. So, like, for that particular game mode, I am going to bump them up into the niche when content requires. Look, they are still, if you like the game style, like, to level them up per se. But, like, let's be real. Like, if you have these characters and you're the Kazuna, you're doing a pretty good job right now. Something else I want to sort of change is I do want to move, I kind of want to move this Blackbeard up into AT captain. I don't think I gave him enough respect. Driven is very, very good. And I do think he's a good option if you are struggling for Driven leaders. I don't think he's as good as Akainu. I don't think he's as good as Moria. And I don't think he's as good as the Fire Tank Pirates. But he is a 5-times captain at the end of the day. So for that reason, I do want to make him an A-tier captain. I guess for that reason, too, you could argue that Halloween Shanks should be an A-tier captain as well. I just don't see him as good as Mihawk. I just don't. That's the problem. He has a good super typing, though. And, like, obviously you can hybrid him up very, very well. I do think he's better than Katakuri, though. And Katakuri's just here purely because of his super typing, so... I guess we'll put him there for now. Let's be real, though. Like, if you're using a character, you're going to be using a Halloween Mihawk, and I guess you're going to be using Katakuri if you can get that to lay off anyway. But, like... It's a tough one. It's a tough one for my boy Shanks. I put him in A-tier captain because he is a 5-times captain. Like, let's be real. He's a 5-times captain. If they're 5-times captains, you'd think they've got to make the list somewhere, right? But, like, this A-tier sub, A-tier captain, like, these guys here are just sort of like your own preference, really, like, to be honest. Like, Sabo, very good option. But, like, he's mainly used as a sub because, like, these, like, Luffy and stuff are better. I guess we could probably drop you to A-tier sub. He's not really used as a captain anymore, even though he's a rainbow captain, but arguably these guys are all rainbow captains as well. I don't think he's as good as Stampede Luffy, so, like, for that reason, we'll drop him to an A-tier sub. And other than that, I think we're pretty much in good stead for the rest of the tier list. Where's my boy 6+ sub? Okay, we put him in, this Sabo as well got his limit break expansion, and honestly, with his limit break expansion, you could easily argue to me that he's an A-tier captain. That's with his expansion. Most of the time, though, you will be using him as a sub. Like, most of the time. Alright, as for the rest of the tier list, I think we're pretty much good to go to talk about the new units. So, there was a character that I did forget to include last month, and that particular character was Bonnie. Bonnie should have been on last month's tier list, but I just totally glanced over her, and for me, she is an S-tier captain. Her and Law, these two, like, int characters right here, for me, are the best two int combination in the game, as of last month anyway. If you hybrid them up together, well, Big Mom obviously is the best one actually. If you hybrid Law with Big Mom or with Bonnie with Big Mom, these two here can actually do a lot. Bonnie's great because she can remove slot bind with her special. She removes special bind. She has special reverse. She basically has fear built into it, and she removes fear herself. So she's really, really good because she does all those real niche things that, like, are very tricky to get around. The big downside to her is she's very flimsy. She has a very, very good special ability, though, very, very good at a 3.5 chain lock depending on your recovery orbs that you've eaten, as well as a 2.5 times attack boost to int. She also sets the defense to 0, which is really, really nice. She's a very, very good unit, and she can output a lot of damage. If you hit with color affinity as well, she actually gives you a recovery orb. So you can actually get recovery orbs quite nicely. She will slide into S tier sub like very quickly though, as of JP anyway, just because we have so many good in captains coming out. But for the meantime, I do think she's an S tier captain. I do think she's very, very good. And you can easily hybrid her up with some of these other characters up the top here very, very nicely. Alright, talking about the big guns now. If we slide down to the bottom here, you guys can't see the bottom section here, but we are going to be talking about a bunch of new characters that did release as of this month. So Bonnie, I just needed to quickly slide in there, but there are a couple of characters that we are going to talk about this month, namely the big three. We've got the Onigashima trio in Law, Luffy, and Kid. We've got the Super Evolution of Komurasaki. We also have Whitebeard and Shanks, and we have Marco as well as Ace Sabo. So I'm just looking at the, yeah, sweet, they're all here. So we have eight legends to talk about. 8 legends! There's so much to talk about. Let's quickly talk about Komurasaki first. The new 6+ that did arrive over here on the global side of the game. She actually got a side grade. She's an int character now. She's still a cerebral and a slasher, but she basically, like, boosts. She does the same thing because she's quick and int, but she's really, like, not that amazing. In my opinion, she's nowhere near as good as Law. She still has a lot of healing in her kit. And if you have a look at where, like, the other Komurasaki sits, she's pretty much identical to this other quick Komurasaki. She is a little bit better, but, like, she's a complete side grade. And honestly, the two of them, like, they pretty much mirror each other. It's up to you, like, if you want to keep two of them or whatnot. Like, they're basically the same unit. They do have slight differences, but in terms of their power and their usability and stuff like that, which is what I normally rank these tier lists on, the big ranking system for me is usability. Like, how much use are you going to use this Komurasaki? And for me, if you have something like the Halloween Slashers, if you have some of these other int captains, you're very rarely going to be using Komurasaki. So for me, she's going to fall into A tier captain. I don't think she's as good as Halloween Shanks, though. I don't think she's good as Halloween Mihawk, however. But in saying that too, she is a very good option to be hybrid up with them. But if it was me, she'd be like down the end here. Sort of like how I do think like Kaido is much better than Komurasaki, but Kaido's only very good when he works. So there is that as well, where the Mihawk, the paralysis of Mihawk's always good. The captain ability of Mihawk's always good. The captain ability of Shanks is always as good. And yeah, you basically guys get what I'm saying there. Moving on to and the next units now. Let's take a look at the Onigashima trio. The Onigashima trio were the ones that sort of released as of the start of the month. So let's take a look at our fan favorite, our hero, Monkey D. Luffy. Now, at the moment, I do think that Monkey D. Luffy is a god tier unit. Besides Roger, he's the best base, like a stat, like he's the best attack booster for free spirit characters, and he's easily the best fighter leader. Like, there's no doubt about that he's not the best fighter leader. He's very, very good in terms of his captain ability, like being able to heal through recovery orbs, just like Big Mom can. His super typing is pretty useful with his cooldown reduction, so you can get around special recharge. He can do a lot. He's a quick captain as well. Quick is very, very strong. The downside that I do find to him is just basically just Unga Bunga damage. He does increase the chance of landing on recovery orbs, but that can easily be nerfed when it comes to recovery orb negative like effect when they make recovery orbs unfavorable. He does have base stat boost, but he does have final tap, and because they have final tap, these characters are immediately like, they have an edge over the other characters. Now, don't get me wrong, final tap is not the be all end all. Don't go chasing level 5 final tap. Please, and for the love of God, do not go chasing final tap level 5. But they do have final tap, and they're the only characters that do, and it does give them a little bit of an edge, unfortunately, I guess. But for that reason, I do think he's a god tier unit. I think he's very, very good. And with the release of Ace Sabo, they're also very, very good. The characters that we're going to talk about this month, they are all absolutely banging characters. Like, really, really good characters. Moving on to Law now. Law, for me, is a god tier unit. In my opinion, Law is probably the most valuable out of the Onigashima trio. If you have to compare these two, though, this is where this Law struggles. He has to compete with this Law. This Luffy, his competition is really like this Snake Man and like Luffy Sanji. Like, that's about it. But this Law, he has to compete with Wano Law. And that's his big downfall, to be honest. And that's why I really wanted to move Wano Law up. Because, like, there's situations where, like, I want to use Wano Law and this Law on the same team. He's a 2.75 times attack booster for Dex, for Cerebrals and Slashes. He's become the best Cerebral and Dex captain in the game. He does a 1.5 times extra damage, which goes through full immunity. He's a Law. He can use Sengoku support, which is absolutely bonkers. If you guys haven't used that support yet, like, you guys are in for a real good time. Like, if you guys have the Sai Sengoku, he's ridiculously good when you do slap him on this Law character, as you can get, like, a chain boost. You can get like, you just do so much with this particular Law. He has a very good super typing going through block orbs as well. He does have a little bit of healing, and his final tap, in my opinion, is the best of the three. He sets the defense to 0. You can get a 3 times conditional boost at level 5, and then does 20%, which is like a HP cut end of turn. So it actually goes through resilience as well. And once the King and Queen kind of like content comes out, you guys will see what I'm talking about when it comes to how valuable this Law actually is. Moving on to the next character, I have Kid. Now, for me, on my Japan tier list, I actually put Kid as an S tier captain. Mainly because you're never really using Kid as a sub. But, like, I really like Kid. I actually summoned for him on Global. I wasn't going to, but I just thought, hey, screw it. Look, September's my final hurrah. Let's get these units and let's call it a day. I love this Kid, man. Like, there's a big thing everyone forgets when it comes to this Kid. He has 25% damage reduction when you're below 50% HP. And guess what? You use his special once, you're at 50% HP. You use the Moby Dick, you're at 50% HP. 25% damage reduction when you're running 2 kids is absolutely monstrous. He's a 5 times captain to Driven, Striker, and Strength. Strength, very, very good color. Driven is a very, very good class. And I honestly think that he's up there as probably one of the... Like, he is up there as, like, I think, like, equal best striker captain. He's up there as a very good strength captain, but the downside that he has to him, he has a lot to compete with when it comes to strength. Mainly this guy here. Verse Ace is still such an absolute monster when it comes to running teams, and because Free Spirit is so damn good, like, Ace just, like, finds a way to, like, just sort of out-pro-ouse him. But if you guys are struggling for, like, subs, Kid is going to be your next best thing, if not the best thing, and he can easily compete with this Ace. He definitely can. He also has access to a couple of, like, very, very good subs. He has access to Shirahoshi Manchuri V2, which can heal. Vivi Rebecca, which has healing on their switch. Those 2 characters are great. Mihawk Perona, which can give the negative effect, which is absolutely monstrous. Getting that negative effect from Mihawk and Perona, where have I put Mihawk and Perona? I think I put them in A tier sub, didn't I? Yeah, A tier sub. They're down here in A tier sub. They're still really, really good, but the problem is, like, negative effect doesn't work all the time. But when it works, it can actually just reduce the damage you take so much. If you guys haven't checked out my Kid vs. the Kid Forest video, make sure to check that out. On the King stage, with Mihawk Perona on the team, and then utilizing double Kid, we're taking like 4,500 damage. With Vivi Rebecca and the switchability of Mihawk Perona as well, we're healing back 3,500. We're only taking 1,000 damage when King normally deals something like 13 to 14k. So this is absolutely bonkers. Kid can basically be your attack boost, your orb boost, and your color affinity as well. So you can just deck the rest of the team out in, like, utility, and it just works really, really nicely for content. So I really want to put him in God tier unit, and that's the big reason why I don't want to move the Fire Tank Pirates up into God tier, purely because this Kid just does what they do but better. But this particular unit on these 2 characters' teams, Verse Ace or the the new Onigashima Kid, is just absolutely amazing. And for that reason, I don't want to put up Fire Tank Pirates, but I definitely want to put Kid up here. Most of the time you're using Kid as a captain, you're not really using him as a sub, where I guess you could argue the Fire Tank Pirates you can use more as a sub that way, or a captain. That way he should be, like, arguably a God tier unit. But look, Kid's really, really good still. His ability to just sort of spam his special, get an attack boost and an orb boost, works very, very nicely. And with the ability to heal now, overheal mechanic and stuff like that, he's so damn good. In my opinion, I do think the order of valuable, like the value of units of the new Onigashima trio looks a little bit like this. Wait, Law, get at the front. Wait. Perfect. Oh my god. Okay, well, if we look at it backwards... Oh, this is so annoying. Get to the front, Law. Like that. So Law's the most valuable because he can get through resilience. Luffy's very, very valuable, especially if you have, what's it called? A Saber and then Kid. But honestly, the character that I'm looking at, like, taking down out of the 3 is this particular Luffy. I like Kid more than I like Luffy now. So for me, my favorite unit to use is the Law, the Kid, then the Luffy. But look, it is what it is at the end of the day. This Luffy is still the best Luffy in the game. Luffy Sanji's probably another argument, but, like, if you have this unit, you're never really using Luffy Sanji. Luffy Sanji's still an absolute God tier unit, though, so, like, I'm not taking him out of God tier. No way in hell. Alright, moving on to the next characters in this tier list. We are going to talk about the new legend releases that literally, or actually we have to talk about Saber. Saber with the Kazuna legend that came out, and this particular character, definitely God tier. No doubt about this. If there was another tier, like if there was another tier above God tier, it would look a little bit something like this. It would look like these two units here. Goldie Roger and the two brothers, like straight up. These two units are the two most valuable units in the game. With Saber as a captain, you can get Despair removal, Special Bind removal, with the respective of Ace for Despair, Sabo for Special Bind. Their Special removes 6 turns, I think it's 5 turns of Bind, Despair, and Special Bind. Their Sailor, they're immune to Special Bind, so they're an absolute god as a Sailor. They have a Super Switch for a 2.25 color affinity. Now, I'm not a big color affinity fan, but the fact that you can just get it on a team with a Super Switch is just absolute. It's the perfect for me. It's perfect for me. And if you hybrid, like, these two units up on the same team, Shanks crew and Sabo, you put them like next to each other and run like Roger as your captain, you get like attack boost, you get a color affinity boost, you have an orb boost, you have a chain locker, like the combination of these three just do so much. It works so damn nicely, and you can just clap content, like you just absolutely destroy content. They're an orb booster, 2.5 times orb booster for 3 turns if you have a Luffy on the team, or if you have Luffy as a support, so that's why this guy actually becomes so much more viable as well. But Sabo, like, throw a couple of multis at each Kazuna banner if you're missing these guys, because they're easily the best unit in the game. Them and Roger, like, I would say Roger's like your best captain, and then like best sub or like best hybrid is the Sabo unit. They also remove block orbs, and their super switch they remove, they give you a full border orbs as well. So like, it's just absolutely bananas what these guys can do. They're an absolute force. They are so good moving forward, and every Kazuna banner that pops up, you guys should be throwing a couple multis at them, especially if you are missing them, because they are very, very, very good. They are very, very good. Like, very, very good. Moving on to the latest banner that did release on the global side, which is Marco and then verse Whitebeard and Shanks. Now, this was pretty much an easy skip for most players, mainly because, like, these 4 characters had just come out with Kid, Law, Luffy, and Sabo. Now, I think the big thing that most people went for was, like, Sabo for Kazuna, as well as then, like, Luffy and Law. But, like, with the zombie strats and stuff like that, Sabo wasn't really that essential. I think most people sort of went for Luffy, most people went for Law. And look, at the end of the day, you could easily argue to me, like, that the 3 Onigashima characters are all on the same level. I'll definitely accept that argument. But, in my opinion, I do think Law's the most valuable. Then probably Luffy, then Kid. But in terms of fun, like, I love this kid so much. But Sabo, out of the anniversary, they are the best. They are the best character floating around. But we are going to talk about the next 3 legends that are Whitebeard, Shanks, and Marco. So let's start with Marco. Unfortunately, Marco sort of got the short end of the stick. He's really, really good. Like, really, really good. He's probably an S tier captain for me, purely because he can auto-trigger his special. If you get below 50% HP, he auto-triggers. He does a bunch of healing. He gives a chain buff. And then if you have a chain... he's a color affinity booster to Powerhouse, Int, and Psy, I'm pretty sure. And then if you have a color affinity buff, he becomes a chain buff. He can remove paralysis. He can remove special bind, I think it is as well. I think it's special bind as well. Correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, but I definitely know it's paralysis, and I'm pretty sure it's special bind. So he's a pretty good sub moving forward, and when he works, he definitely works. He's Powerhouse, Cerebral, and Int, which are like, it's an amazing combination. Cerebral teams are like an absolute force. Powerhouse teams are an absolute force, and Int is a very, very good color. You can easily hybrid him up with something like a Kainu. You can easily hybrid him up with something like the new verse Whitebeard. You could use him with Law. You could use him with Bonnie. He works really, really well with this Bonnie, actually. Like, really, really well with this Bonnie. I kind of want to drop Law down, but for the same reason that I have Kaido up here, I do want to leave Law, just because he has that reflection damage, and I do think he's the best. When he works, he is the best out of these particular characters here. Kaido, you can make an argument for to put an S tier captain, but I just think Sugar's better. Sorry, I went off into a tangent there. We're talking about Marco, aren't we? So Marco's really, really good. Most of the time, I am using Marco as a sub, because I'm using something like Bonnie, or I'm using something like Verse Big Mom. But eventually, just like Bonnie, he'll probably find his way down into S tier sub. I think he finds his way into S tier sub a little bit quicker than Bonnie does, just because his super typing is nowhere near as good as Bonnie's super typing. But for now, we will leave him in S tier captain, because he's very, very good. Like, and if you pull Marco, be very, very happy, because he's a very, very good unit. He has the best sprite in the game too, by the way. Easily the best sprite. He has one of the best special animations as well. Definitely, like, worth your... I wouldn't say he's worth your stones, but he's worth your time and your investment if you do manage to summon him. I definitely would level him up. Let's talk about the next Int unit that did release alongside him. His captain, Verse Whitebeard. For me, Verse Whitebeard is a god tier unit. No doubt about it. In my opinion, he is the best Int captain in the entire game. Sorry, Big Mom, you've finally been replaced. But the combination of these two when you are running int teams... You have so much HP. You have so much damage reduction. You have so much healing. It's just... It's mind-boggling what these two can do. The big reason I do like versus Whitebeard, and I do have a showcase coming out with these guys. I already have something on the channel if you guys want to check him out. I did do like a mini showcase when I pulled them on JP. But the big reason I think they're a god tier unit, the main reason I think he's a god tier unit, is his versatility, in my opinion, is one of the best versabilities in the entire game. Mainly because it's a one-turn versatility. And you only need 10 orbs to get it. Busted. Absolutely busted. It's always viable. Always. What it does is it gives a 30% HP cut through barriers and defensive effects. Not through normal attacks only, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. But it also gives you 90% damage reduction. And all you need is 10 int or psi orbs. And as a captain, he actually makes them easier to attain. If you're running him alongside Shanks as well, it just works so nicely. You get 10 of those orbs, you just pop his versatility. If you're running 2 Whitebeards, you pop the next one. You can like lock orbs with the Magello. You can manipulate orbs, which is really nice. And he just does so much. And you just don't take damage. You don't take damage at all. It's absolutely wild. You can hybrid him up with something like Kid as well. This Kid here for even more damage reduction once you get below 50%. And you can just run like a striker team. These two are the best 2 striker captains in the entire game, in my opinion. But with Whitebeard, he's also an int and a psi-based captain as well. And int and psi, in my opinion, are the 2 best colors in the game. Psi, I do think, takes the trumps. And then we have int, but they are sort of neck and neck, and they just have a lot of options. They just have so many good characters that you can slide onto the team. Whitebeard as a captain, he's a 5 times captain. He has that 20% damage reduction, as I mentioned. He boosts int, psi, and strikers. His special, however, does a 30% HP cut and gives a 2.5 times attack boost to those 3 colors and classes. Psi, int, and strikers. He also will give an 1,000 base stat as well. And this is where the base stats comes into play. That base stat buff is actually very prevalent on JP now. And it's actually so damn powerful. In my opinion, I always go when I'm building teams, I'm going like attack boost, and then like base stat boost or chain lock, or a character that can give an orb boost that also manipulates orbs. That's sort of what I look for when I do my team building. And Whitebeard like fills that like easily. Another thing about Whitebeard is if they're below, I think it's 80% HP. So if you use his versatility, drop them below the HP threshold, he doesn't do the HP cut, but he becomes a 2 times orb booster. So literally with one unit, you can get a base stat boost, an attack boost, and an orb boost, which is just absolutely bonkers. The big issue to him is he doesn't have any orb manipulation. He does obviously make int orbs beneficial as a captain, but if you get like block orbs, it can be a little bit of an issue. But nevertheless, he's a monster. He's actually built different. Like he is just built different. And out of him and Shanks, as much of a Shanks fan as I am, I unfortunately just think he's better. Like, straight up, I do think he's better. And for that reason, like, I do think he's a god tier unit. I absolutely believe that this guy is a god tier unit. No question about it. Actually, what's this Akainu doing here? This Akainu should be up here. That Akainu should definitely be up here because of this this Kuzan. This Boa should go down to when the content requires, because she's a color affinity booster. And I feel like this Saber needs to drop down here as well, just because he's not as good as Lucy, and he only really use him for when the content requires you to have his orb buff and his matching orbs, manipulating orbs. The final unit we're going to talk about, the final unit, is my boy, Shanks. This Shanks is my favorite Shanks in the game. I do think it sucks a little bit because Shanks Crew is still so good, and Shanks Crew normally takes his place, but I still think he's a god tier unit. And look, you might call me biased, and I don't care. He's still so good. So good. The big downside to this particular character compared to Whitebeard, I do think he has a better captain ability than Whitebeard, and I do think that he has a better special than Whitebeard. The big downside to this Shanks is he has a way worse versatility. Straight up. When it works, it works. And you'll see that on the Onigashima Trio Garb Challenge that's coming out. You'll see that in Revolution Army 2, which I do have a showcase for. And when he works, like when you can get it off, it's an absolute godsend. But the reason I do think he's a god tier unit is because his captain ability boosts not only int and psi units, but he actually also boosts slashes. Now he's like the new designated slasher captain, him and Law, and very similar to the combination of Whitebeard and Kid. these two characters work very, very nicely together. The only downside, the big downside I should say to Shanks is he has a lot of competition. Mainly this guy right here. He's captain, Goldie Roger. Goldie Roger, in my opinion, is still the best Psy captain. And like I said, if there was another tier, like Goldie Roger would just be like above everything, like to be honest. Like he'd be up here somewhere. Just like Ace Sabo, they'd be up here as well. But this Shanks works amazingly alongside Roger because he's the orb booster, right? Shanks' special not only is a 2.5 times orb boost and 1,000 base stats very similar to Whitebeard, but he actually manipulates orbs into matching through block orbs. Any character that can give you a massive orb boost like 2.5 or higher, as well as manipulate orbs into matching, especially through block orbs, like it makes this Luffy special look like chump change. Like it's wild how much damage you can get out with this Shanks. Getting matching orbs and then using the Magello special, you can lock them, which is really, really nice. Now, don't get me wrong, you can always argue, hey, Stump, Roger does that with his super typing. And I get it. Like, I 100% get it. I'm not saying he's better than Roger, but I'm definitely saying that he's better than Luffy Sanji. I'm definitely saying that he's better than Wano Law. I'm definitely saying that he's better than, like, verse Big Mom. Like, I think this Shanks is amazing. As a captain, he's a 5 times captain to Int and Sai, so that means you can easily run characters like verse Big Mom, Wano Law, Luffy Sanji. Like, you can run all of these characters. He's a slasher-based captain as well, so you can run stuff like this Law. You can run stuff like this Whitebeard. You can just do so much when it comes to utilizing this Shanks. He has so much diversity. You can use Odin as well for Wano orbs. And, like, he's an absolute weapon. As I mentioned, though, his captain ability gives you a 1.5 times HP buff. And most of the time, that kind of sucks when you do get despaired. But he also has the ability to hit perfects and heal. Very, very good when you can heal on perfects. It's not always viable, but it's very, very strong, as you can actually just regain that health once you're despaired. And what you can actually do is, and what you guys will see in my Revolution Army 2 showcase, is you can hybrid these two characters up very, very nicely, and you can easily build an Int and Sai team, because Int and Sai just have an array of very, very good options. And with the damage reduction Whitebeard provides, with the HP that Shanks can provide, they just work exceptionally well. One of them makes Sai orb matching, the other makes Int orbs matching, and you just have no negative orbs, and it just works absolute wonders. Like I said, though, his big downside is his versatility. So with his special not only giving the matching orbs and the orb buff, he sets the defense to 0 on the next turn. So he gives that clock buff. So it can work very, very well if you are using his versatility on one turn and then carrying into the next turn. But the big downside to this guy is he does struggle with normal attacks only. With full immunity. Just like Whitebeard struggles with normal attacks only with his HP cut. So both these units are very, very strong. If you pull Whitebeard Shanks, you're good for Int and Sai-based captains until, like, Yamato's release. So, legit, like, once you are, like, if you have those units, and you have the Onigashima trio, you are just literally in good stead for the rest of the game, literally until Yamato comes out. And that's my big argument when it comes to this tier list. As free-to-play players, now is the time to stop summoning. Stop summoning. Wait until Yamato's release. That's the next Super SUGO Fest. And that's where you guys should be summoning. The only time you guys should be summoning if you are missing a Sabo. Maybe throw a couple of multis at the Toki banner. Maybe throw a couple of multis at the next Kazuna banners. But the longer you wait for a Sabo, the next time I think it's worth summoning on a Kazuna banner would actually be the next co-op Super Boss Linlin SUGO Fest. Which is like, there's no new legend, but there's 3 new rare recruits that like do what a Sabo does in terms of the ticket growth and stuff. That's the next time I would summon on a Kazuna banner. But if you guys want to, if you really want a Sabo, throw a couple multis at each of the Kazuna banners. Like, the recommended steps are really, really good. And that way you just might get some luck. Legit, like on JP, I went super deep for a Sabo. And then like literally the first multi of the next Kazuna banner, I pulled them. So like, there's always that too, right? So that's going to wrap up. Oh, before we continue, the versatility of Shanks versus Shanks. He sets the defense to 0 and then gives you a conditional boost. Like I said, doesn't go through normal full immunity, but it is still very, very good when it works. But like I said, that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. This is the new updated tier list. Obviously, like I said, the God tier units, these are the ones you guys want to be focusing on when it comes to leveling them up. There are a lot of God tier units, but honestly, they are all very, very good in their own regard. I guess if you wanted to be like super nitpicky, you'd drop Law down here because he's mainly used as a sub, but I do want to give him the respect he deserves. Luffy Sanji, I guess you could argue like you're mainly using them as a sub nowadays. You could easily say they're like an S tier captain because they get overheal on their captain ability. So there's also that. If you do want to sort of separate these God tier units, I guess you could argue that Shanks' crew is an S tier sub, mainly because that's where he's used most of the time. But I do want to still give these units the credit that they truly deserve, as they are still very good options if you are missing these characters. Remember, like, this is not like, okay, just because Verse Shanks is better than Wano Law, that means that Wano Law doesn't deserve to be in the God tier category. Because arguably, then we should be separating these. And if I did do that, then like we would just have like infinite tier lists and it wouldn't even fit on the screen. But let me guys know if you guys want me to change up the structure just a little bit. If you guys want me to get a little bit more segregation when it comes to these particular units, I can definitely look at that into another tier list. But you guys just got to be mindful that the video may look a little bit something like that when it comes to that tier list then, as the units like we're gonna have to like be able to see everything, and it is going to sort of dampen your viewing experience as well. So just be mindful that this is just my opinion as well. Like I said, please let me know your opinion in the comment section below. If you disagree with anything, let me know. If you agree with stuff, let me know. Everyone has an opinion. At the end of the day, it's your opinion. This is my opinion, and we're a community, so let's talk about things. Let's have some fun. And let's grow together. But, like I said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's